Welcome to Take on Tech, a program that comes to you every week from KBC Channel 1. And it's a program that explores technological concepts and debates and brings you experts who in turn unpackage and explain the tech issues in an untech way so that you as the viewer can understand how technology relates to you in your everyday life. Now, the telecommunications sector continues to undergo considerable changes. These have been necessitated by convergence and technology dynamism. The sector continues to be shaped by rapid uptake of the internet and mobile communications across the country, including the very remote areas in Kenya. In such a rapidly evolving field, it is necessary to ensure that regulation adapts to new developments so that we are able to continue communicating seamlessly. So who is in charge in Kenya of this kind of regulation? This is what the program will focus on today. We are going to understand who our regulator is, the role the regulator plays in regulating matters technology, and to really understand who the Communications Authority of Kenya is. To help us understand all these issues, we have Mercy Wanjau, who is the Acting Director General of the regulator. Welcome to the program, Ms. Wanjau.
Thank you very much, Grace. Always a pleasure to join you on Take on Tech.
Now, Mercy, just get us straight into the program. Please explain to the viewer who is the Communications Authority and what does the regulator, who is the Communications Authority of Kenya and what does the regulator do?
Okay, thank you, Grace. The Communications Authority of Kenya is the ICT regulatory agency for this country. And it increasingly over the years has been charged with very ambitious goals and targets, which would ultimately translate to improved livelihood, better sources of opportunities, courtesy of the ICT platforms. So in this regard, the Communications Authority regulates certain subsectors, such as telecommunications, broadcasting, cybersecurity, electronic transactions, and the postal subsector. So this is a broad mandate, and you will notice that it starts from the very traditional telecom and postal, coming into new areas like electronic commerce and cybersecurity, and we trust that with technology and evolution, this will carry on. If you look back on a flashback 20 years ago, technology was analog. Things were slower. Things have so changed today that if you do not carry your mobile phone, you forget it by mistake. Chances are you go back for that phone, or you will send somebody to get it for you because of how integrated our lives, our lifestyles, how we purchase, how we do business, how we communicate is very integrated with the technology platforms that we have on our hands. So in this regard, we have had a rising profile in terms of consumer protection and educating consumers on their rights and obligations when they deal with matters technology in this sector. We also do appreciate that the consumer needs to hear us. We need to come to the heartbeat of the community. And we have now opened up offices in the regions. We currently have 4 offices in regions in Mombasa, in Eldoret, Kisumu, and Nyeri. And we hope that with the passage of time, we will be able to even be more present so that we can engage with the consumers more closely and be able to respond to the issues and concerns that they may have. As I end, of course, the issue of the Big Four agenda and the role that we play in this, because ICTs have become a big enabler in the achievement of the Big Four agenda. And because of this, we now see enhanced public service delivery, for example, through the mobile phone, through internet, and the like. So the commitment is great, the ambition is fantastic, and therefore our job is really cut out for us.
Thanks so much for that response. I like the idea of taking the regulator to the consumers, because I know consumers have maybe concerns and they don't know where to address. So maybe later in the program, time allowing, we will deal with that question. And I know you've talked about the areas that you deal with: cybersecurity, electronic commerce, which are really emerging issues. Now, because those are emerging issues, that leads me to the next question. How has the regulator responded to the rapidly changing ICT environment? And for example, you mentioned cyber, this COVID time, we've seen, the multifaceted role of ICTs. So how has CA responded to the ever-changing ICT environment?
Because of the rapid changes that have happened over the last 20 years in terms of technology, this has meant that we have had a very exciting regulatory journey. Some of the issues, the principles, and the practices that we had adopted in the early years have turned upside down. So this has been a situation where the team of experts that we have here at the regulator, they learn, then they unlearn, then they relearn, because to ensure that you're able to unlock regulatory possibilities at an optimum, you have to continuously be on the search for possibilities that would make this more efficient and more enabling for the operators in our market today. Of course, this has not come without its challenges, because sometimes the burst of technology and the possibilities that innovations bring can run ahead of the regulator. But thankfully, through stakeholder engagement, policy revisions, regulatory revisions, we are in tandem, and we have been able to keep in pace to ensure that not only are we able to give our licensees an enabling platform, we are also able to safeguard the consumers as they go out to consume services from a diverse profile of services, and to ensure that they have quality of service as they engage.
Okay, now earlier on, when you were telling us about what the Communications Authority of Kenya does, you did mention the issue of the Big Four agenda. Now, in what ways are ICTs contributing to the realization of the Big Four agenda, and what has been the role of CA?
Thank you, Grace. The Big Four agenda tries to pick on four major pillars: manufacturing, universal health, food security, and housing. And at this point in time, you find that there are new technologies that have come up that are really embedding into these pillars. The advent of big data, artificial intelligence. These are critical building blocks that go to integrate to ensure optimal delivery. For example, on the factory floors, the use of analytics and big data to drive quality, to drive precision and efficiency in manufacturing, and even in analyzing the consumers going forward. When it comes to issues of universal health, the traditional way was that the patient would avail themselves physically before a doctor. Today, with the advent of COVID-19, this is practically not possible. And should this patient require more specialized help and the specialist is not available at that location, it then meant taking off days from other productive work and traveling to the big city, for example, to the big hospital, so that the patient can get to consult the specialist. In terms of the contribution to universal health, the ICTs are able to contribute through enabling connectivity for hospitals. And thankfully, through the Universal Service Fund, which the authority manages, we do have a project that we are currently advancing with the Ministry of Health that will bring that expert from the big city to the small town. And it will enable the patient to consult the specialist and have medication or preventative care prescribed within comfort of ease. They do not have to go out of their way. This has been a very warm experience, because you then see that because of this connection between the specialists and the patient, it also empowers the intermediary doctors and nurses. It also empowers the patient and leads to a general enhancement of livelihood. So we anticipate that ICTs will continue to integrate at an even deeper level to unlock the big four possibilities, also to unlock other critical factors. Perhaps I could just mention some of the other ways that ICTs are integrating into the everyday living of Kenyans. The first one is the police digitization project, which we're engaged in, that will now ensure that once reports are made at a police station, no matter where it is in Kenya, that people are able to track from the law enforcement side and even from the reporting side, that they're able to track the progress of this claim or the court case to the very end. We are also engaged in a pilot study with the judiciary that would lead to connectivity with the judiciary and promote faster prosecution of matters in the judiciary space. Another initiative that has been very welcome in this pandemic season has been the digitization of primary school and secondary school curriculum through the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. This has actually enabled students where there is connectivity to access learning on radio and TV. So Grace, you can see that ICTs have moved from the edge of life to the center. And because of that recognition that ICTs actually carry great possibilities, it also pushes the urgency for us to close the gaps, because we know that not all Kenyans are connected. And these gaps have now become more amplified within the pandemic season. And it's a commitment that we really are working towards bridging, and bridging faster, so that we do not deepen the connection where those gaps exist.
Oh, thanks a lot, Mercy, for that response. I think Kenyans will be looking forward to the police digitization project, as well as the judiciary, because ordinary citizens will tell you their grief, especially when they are dealing with court matters, all the time going and you're being told your file has disappeared, or we can't get this information, or that. So it's very commendable that the regulator is pushing on that to ensure that people have information that will help their cause in justice matters. Now, recently in the media, we have seen a lot of information that CA is celebrating some milestones. Please take us that. What are these milestones?
Okay. Um, yes, Grace, we have turned 20. So we really have come of age, and we've been trying to personify who we are. And I believe through what you see on media, we are really coming out as a young adult. As a young adult who wants to find their place in life, who has an opinion, and who wants to seize the day, to be a productive person, and as a person who wants to matter in matters that are relevant to their space. This is how we see ourselves in the personification. And I believe we have done very well in terms of communicating that message to the public. And what we are basically saying from the imagery is that we are full of possibilities. We carry possibilities. We want to unlock these possibilities. But as you know, for everything in life and even professionally, to unlock possibilities, we have to sit and talk. We have to engage with our stakeholders. And this is something that we are really open to. And, at some point we wondered, how is it that we would celebrate our coming of age inside a pandemic? But this is what it is. And this is where we find ourselves, so that while we may not celebrate as we would have in another time, it is time for us also to pause and reflect. And in our reflections, one of the conclusions that we have come to is that a pandemic could be a time of struggle or survival. And indeed, even us, our industry, the country, and the world is trying to stay alive to survive. But then we also say we have to look for possibilities to thrive and move forward. And we have seen in this pandemic the space of technology. It really looks like a stage that was set for the technology space to project what value it can bring to the country, what improvement of livelihoods and businesses it can do. If we are to look in the pandemic space, Grace, with the requirements for social distancing and working from home, how wonderful it is that the connectivity and the broadband penetration we have in this country has continued to support public service delivery. It has continued to support provision of services to consumers. And while there may have been hitches here and there, largely life has continued on that platform, something we are very thankful for, and it has drawn on our commitment to ensure that we are able to maintain these services. The other thing it has done is bring us closer to our stakeholders, because in supporting the increased traffic, it has meant being facilitated by the regulator in terms of provision of extra resources, giving a bit of latitude here and there so that they can be able to carry on. And it has deepened our stakeholder engagements and our relationships, because in a pandemic season, we are here to lean on one another so that we can be able to move forward in the belief that tomorrow is certainly going to be a better day. So this is an exciting time for us. We feel that this is a call for action as an essential service, and at a time when this ICT platform has become so integral, I believe the reason for our existence has become apparent. As we come of age and move forward to the next level, we want to engage with all our stakeholders, that even as we leverage, that we would be leveraging in a relevant manner, that we will be leveraging for more relevance and for more productivity. As a 20-year-old, Grace, you're looking to expand your skill sets and to unlock your space in the world and to make your contribution and bring out your fullest potential. What ICTs have done in this space is to open up the possibilities for jobs and job creation in the space of digitized elements and digitally enabled jobs, what we popularly call the gig economy. The gig economy is here with us, and it continues to engage quite a number of the young people to actually come out and find their place. Because in a country that is moving towards digital transformation, a lot of businesses will move from the manual to the digital, whether it be from as basic as record keeping, all the way to translation, to maintaining of these records, the financial services sector, maintenance, and even digital data security. There, it opens up a whole new portfolio of opportunities, a whole new possibility of creation of skill sets, which will not only be relevant in this country, but outside. I trust that so far one can begin to feel that there is possibility. There are opportunities that will be unlocking for us. And this is the march towards digital transformation as we move on to our 21st year.
Great. I can actually relate. Of course, I don't remember the last time I was 20, But I can imagine the excitement of turning 20 and waiting to be 21 and knowing now that you can even walk and move out of your parents' house. So
Right.
now, very interesting. I'll be interested in hearing some of the hitches that you have encountered. But now, Take on Tech takes a short break, and when we return, we will go back to Mercy to ask her to tell us what are some of those challenges that the regulator has encountered in its 20 years of existence. Welcome back to Take on Tech. In today's program, we are looking at the role of tech regulator in Kenya. So we are looking to understand the Communications Authority of Kenya, its role, and how it affects your tech use every day. We are speaking to Masi Wanjao, who is the acting Director General of the regulator. Now, Marcy, before we took a break, you were telling us about the milestones that this 20-year-old Communications Authority has achieved. I like that analogy of making it look like a teenage, somebody moving from teenage into now adulthood. Now, so as you celebrate the milestones and what CA has achieved over the 20 years, I am sure you are reflecting on some of the challenges, some of the strengths, some of the gaps now, and maybe areas that need improvement. What are some of the challenges that CA has encountered in its 20 years? And maybe how have you addressed them?
Okay. Grace, like any journey of 1,000 miles, it starts with one step. And we've had our own experiences, the highs and the lows. In terms of challenges, which could also be turned around to look like opportunities, one of them has been the fast evolution of technology. In the last 20 years, this has been a window of unprecedented innovation and change. And as a result of that, sometimes it felt like something that is almost running out of your hands. But thankfully, because of support, particularly at the policy and legislative engagement with stakeholders, we have been able to embark on an updating of our frameworks to enable us keep in pace. The fast evolution of technology has certainly been something to contend with. A second one has been the issue of the huge amount of resources that are required to support, to nurture, and embrace the benefits of technology. These resources are not just financial, they're also technical, and all these are embedded and supported by the consumer at the very end and the licensee who unlocks the possibility. This has caused for the formation of a new language or a new narrative and the need to develop fluency very quickly, very fast indeed. And while we have had wins largely, there have been situations here and there where there were breakdowns, and this led to litigation, which has also been quite expensive. Another challenge has come because of the movement towards reliance on the digital space and the digital platform, butched against the fact of consumer awareness being low, the issue of cyber security. So that often you will find that incidences that pose a threat to cyber to the in the cyberspace are often arising because a consumer was not aware or a consumer did not use appropriate safeguards to ensure that their presence, the presence of their data and information, was appropriately safeguarded. So these have been the three major challenges, I would call them. But you will see that you can actually turn this around because these then become opportunities for awareness creation, building up our abilities and competencies to promote trust and confidence on the digital platform in order to be able to secure meaningful opportunities for users. On the side of lower connection because of the huge amount of resources that are required, this also is an opportunity to really connect the unserved and the underserved areas. And this is something that we actually are continuing to do, even in the pandemic season, to ensure that we are able to close these gaps as much as possible. We are keeping at it, trying to address our circumstances and challenges as we come upon them, and to find out how to trigger the benefits or the positives that we can be able to pick up from these challenges.
Okay, great point there, because especially the issue of access to communication services, and trying to bring in meaningful connectivity. That's a great point right there. Now, again, it's because the issue of communication is actually a necessity, and it's we in this other side are saying it's a human rights. Now, as the ICT industry regulator, and you may have alluded to that, but now this is an opportunity to delve into the issue. What initiatives has the regulator implemented to enhance access to communication services across the country?
Okay, there has been quite some strides made on this, and taking you back 20 years ago, we only had the incumbent fixed line operator. Today, we come into an industry that has 3 mobile operators and 2 mobile virtual network operators. That has opened up the space. We came from a space where we had 1 TV station and 1 radio station. Today, we have over 150 radio stations, and the TV stations are also in multiplicity, which means that the space of choice has expanded. This has really opened up, and we are able to enjoy a peak of taste, a peak in terms of orientation of the various services that are being offered. The other thing is, with the digital migration, today the clarity, the precision that we see on our screens was unbeknown 20 years ago. So even the user experience has improved considerably. Coming to matters connectivity, it starts with our licensees. The issuing of licenses with targets has opened up in terms of availing the signal and universal service obligation. But we do recognize that there are areas that, because of the terrain, because of the numbers, will need facilitation from the Universal Service Fund. And I'm proud to report that 3 years ago, we embarked on the phase 1 of the voice connectivity project. And we are now at the tail end of completing phase 1. Phase 2 has just embarked, where we are taking this up a second time as an effort to close the gaps that are still existing on the phase 2. And we look forward to seeing what other population groups will be brought in with the exercise of phase 2 in terms of connectivity. The other very ambitious project that we have taken on is providing broadband for schools, for secondary schools. And we do this as part of a broader framework of collaboration, because there are other agencies, sister agencies such as the ICT Authority, handling the primary school side in terms of the digital learning program. And in phase 2, we have gone to secondary schools to provide computers, to provide high-speed broadband connectivity. What this has done is to enable examination of ICT as a subject at secondary school level, and therefore laying a necessary platform for these students as they move on to universities and other tertiary institutions to gain other IT or ICT related skills that would enable even better engagement to drive technology in this country. Those are the two major projects, and we will be soon embarking on the phase 2 of the education broadband connectivity. So bottom line, you indicated that ICTs are a basic human right, and we quite agree with you. They are very necessary, and our motivation, for example, for the education broadband project, is that no child should be left behind. That even where a teacher of a certain subject is not present in a school, that child is availed educational content from another source, because technology enables this. And as a result, it provides a leveler for every child growing up in this country to be able to move on to the next level. Other projects that we are engaged in are, for example, a project that seeks to bring up persons with disabilities to ensure connectivity. And this is a project we are very passionate about, and we will be scaling up in the course of this year to ensure that the skill sets and the job possibilities that would open up for persons with disabilities are enabled in this country. Perhaps, Grace, I should mention that the broadband speeds that we have in Kenya are very high. And these speeds are comparable to speeds that you will find in other continents like Europe and North America. And because of this, we want to leverage on this possibility. Secondly, as a country, we have been recognized because of the space that we play in ICT leadership globally. We want to leverage on this to be able to open up possibilities for each and every Kenyan, because we do have the necessary building blocks that we can then build on to open up these possibilities.
Great. And now that leads me to the next question. With the high broadband speeds, which I must agree with you, because I've been to countries where you expect them to have very fast broadband speeds, but you just actually start valuing this country and the major milestones we've made in this area. Now, with the rapid adoption of all these technologies, with people adopting, getting onto the internet through their cell phones, new challenges have emerged, and cybercrime has now become one of the greatest threats, not just to the government of Kenya and to the people of Kenya, but the world over. Everyone is just grappling with this. I'm sure you've heard that during this COVID time, students are online, and you have this hacker coming on to bring them some pornographic stuff on the learning platform. Now, what efforts are in place to secure Kenya's cyberspace?
Uh-huh. That's a very topical question that you asked, Grace, because indeed the pandemic has not only amplified the usage of the ICT platform, it has also amplified the risks. And unfortunately, if I'm to start with the younger of our population, the children have been exposed to unintended consequences in an amplified manner because they're spending a lot of time on screens. In order to mitigate this, we have been in very close collaboration with our key stakeholders, the ministry, and our licensees, engaging on what active efforts we can make to amplify stakeholder engagement and information sharing, to enlighten key focus groups like parents, teachers, representatives of faiths, because these are influencers in the community, that it would be able to send out the message that when you get online and prepare yourself for a meaningful experience. How to spot experiences that are negative and how to deal with them, how to report them, and subsequently how to root them out through prosecution. So the Child Online Protection Initiative has been working on very, very high gear to ensure that a lot of messages you will find on radio, on TV, on social media, so that the hope and the expectation is that every user will come across this kind of helpful information in the course of their engagement with that platform. We also have the KESAT, the Incidents Response Team, which is a very specialized platform at the authority that goes out to seek out potential threats and alert users across this country, and also guide them on preventative action, corrective action to take in order to minimize the chances of cybercrime occurring on their platforms. So these two particular initiatives for children and for the rest of the population have been very active, and they are working on 24/7 basis to ensure that as much as possible we promote trust and confidence on this platform, that these platforms are also not misused, by people to reduce productivity, to cause unnecessary anxiety. So those are the two main ones. The third one I would want to speak to is the businesses. We do have big businesses. We also have small and medium enterprises, which tend to form the bedrock of our economy in Kenya. Now, for small and medium enterprises, in this pandemic time, the issue of data security, information security, should be a conversation at the forefront. It should be a conversation in the boardroom. It should be a conversation for any business owner to secure the data that they have. That's on the preventative side. On the positive, proactive side is that perhaps the time has come for our small and medium enterprises to embrace the ICT platform, go into e-commerce, and open up the doors of their shop. When we open up the doors of our shop, we open them up to the customer who walks in with their feet. How about that we open up our shops to footfall that comes not from within the locality, not from within the country, but from anywhere in the world, because they're able to view the goods and services that are availed. And we do have this possibility today in this country. So the issue of data security then becomes very important, because as we continue to rely on the ICT platform, then this kind of an area becomes a target for the hackers and other miscreants on the ICT platform, and is something that we would want to guard against jealously, so that our businesses continue to grow on the physical ground and also continue to grow on the online space. And indeed, this is a possibility.
Okay, I like the idea of securing technology so that you inspire confidence and trust in the users. And I think this is information that needs to get out there to ordinary citizens to know that there's something being done, and that there is a place they can report some of these attacks online. Okay, now, with all what you have told us, what does the future hold?
I think, Grace, the future is very bright. The future is very bright because the space of technology innovation continues to grow. Looking back again, when we started 20 years ago, we had no connectivity, for example, in terms of wireless. We went 2G, 3G, 4G, and we continue to progress. We continue to see the deepening of an ecosystem that has broken boundaries. And now people are able to engage and interact productively across boundaries. As Kenyans, we have a rich heritage, a solid educational background. We also are placed geographically in a place that has leverage to engage with other locations elsewhere in terms of transfer of work, so that when it is nighttime elsewhere, it is daytime here. And we are able to leverage on this. We have seen possibilities that we hadn't captured in our imagination 20 years ago. Think of mobile money and what that means for us today. What might we be anticipating in the future? Think of the gig economy and the digital and the digitally enabled jobs today. What might deepening of these jobs actually mean for, especially for our young and budding population in this country? When you consider some of the innovations that are happening on the application space, for example, and a lot of these applications have gone on to scale up to be used globally to fight hunger, to be able to contain pandemics, in situations of education, to aid small and medium enterprises to work more efficiently. I think the future is very bright, but the future can only be as bright as you imagine it, enough as to enable. So, of what support can we be to enable this? One of them, I believe, is a space of proactive and positive engagement with the regulator, that the users or potential users would take the opportunity to engage the regulator, to share the brilliant ideas that they have, and then see how best we can unlock these possibilities, because indeed they do exist. A second one, which I would want to throw out there as a challenge: Kenya may be a small country geographically, but it's got great possibilities. What does this mean for us to scale up our businesses into the continent? And this can be enabled because the ICT sector, as we said earlier, works without boundaries. So let's seize the future and let's see how best we can ride on this to bring even more possibilities for ourselves, more productivity, and to ensure that even as we continue to open up the ICT space, as we continue to close these gaps, that these gaps would close for the better enhancement of our livelihoods, that they would be closing for our businesses to scale up, that they would be closing for more value for each and every one of us, because this indeed is possible.
Okay, Mercy, please give us some closing remarks.
Great. Thank you, Grace. Coming into 20 years is a great feeling, is a great possibility. It's also an opportunity to pause and thank each and every one of our key stakeholders who has supported us throughout these years. We have come a long, long way, and things have changed. And indeed, we are very thankful for the support that we have been accorded over the years. Working here at the Communications Authority of Kenya and having a great team working together to consider these issues and bring value to the Kenyan population has been a singular pride for each and every one of the staff members who work in this institution. It also has provided an opportunity for us to recommit on our willingness to provide these new possibilities and this new light. So as we celebrate this time and celebrate it within a pandemic, we sympathize that this has also led to pain for others. And at the same time, we continue to commit ourselves to examine and identify any ICT applications and solutions that can be used to alleviate the pain and hardship that is occurring during this pandemic, and to dedicate them for use is something that we are currently doing. We also are committing to continue to look to the post-COVID situation, that we would be able to continue to participate at the heartbeat of this society, which is where we do belong, that we can be able, when the drumbeats of history are written and recorded, that the role, the contribution of the ICT platform will be very, very clear and distinct. And we count on the support of all of us to be able to make this happen.
What a great way to end the program. Viewer, you have been watching and trying to understand the role of the ICT regulator in this country. In the studio, we had Mercy Wanjau, who is the acting director general of the regulator, and her message is very clear to you. One of the things she has highlighted is that you, as the user, must or need to engage with the regulator and to give your ideas, so that these ideas then are translated either into innovation or into the ways that regulation is conducted in this country. So Mercy, we are very grateful to you, and we hope that the viewer has learned something about the authority, and we wish the regulator another 100 years. We may not be there, but another celebration of, similar milestones. So that brings us to the end of Take on Tech this week. My name is Grace Gidaiga. Please remember to sanitize, wear a mask, and maintain social distance.